guys, what's up? This is Brendan from Vaporizer, and we wanted to bring you an inside look into the cannabis industry here in Denver, Colorado. And today I have some guests. We're going to try to bring you guys new guests from the cannabis industry every week. And today I'm bringing you guys Izzy Blaze. Izzy has millions and millions of views on her viral videos. She has an impressive resume of brands that she has worked for, and she also has thousands and thousands of fans that look to her every single day on what and how to consume in the cannabis industry. Say hi, Izzy.
What's up, everybody? It's your mom and dad's favorite stoner, Izzy Blaze.
And then we have Ian Sieb from Denver Relief Consulting. He actually owned the first medical dispensary in Denver. Very impressive, sir. Bravo.
Yeah.
And now he owns Denver Relief Consulting, and he helps people trying to get into the cannabis industry, get their licenses, and get everything in order so they're completely compliant. So, start with Izzy. I want to find out a little more about you, why you chose cannabis as your passion, and what led you here to this point.
Yeah, I actually just moved here on a whim, and it's actually pretty cool because I wasn't a big smoker before I moved here, and then I got diagnosed with plantar fasciitis the first year I was here, and I was in severe pain at the age of 24 where I couldn't walk. So I got put onto CBD, and from CBD I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm not going to drink as much because I'm just gaining weight, couldn't really exercise. So I just started smoking cannabis, and within these last 2 years now I work out, I'm going to start rock climbing, I'm going to try parkour. And so it's just really changed the wealth of my life, just like the health and the wealth of my life. And what we're here to do is, yes, we're elevated and we're medicated, but I'm here to educate and advocate. The more that I learn, the more that I can share and not change people's perspectives, but just open their mind to a new perspective. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Ian, what led you to get into cannabis, and tell us a little bit about how you got started.
Sure. What led me to cannabis? Well, I was a social user. I started using when I was in high school, as many of us did, but I didn't begin to recognize the medical benefits of cannabis until well after college. When I was in college, I had a terrible ski accident where I hit a permanent snowmaking machine in Vail before people wore helmets with my head and my shoulder, and I ended up dislocating I had 14 stitches on my forehead, 7 on my eyebrow, 3 on my eye, ripped my eye, 3 here, broke my pinky on this side, sprained my back, dislocated my shoulder, broke my collarbone, and this arm was paralyzed for about 6 months.
Is there any video of this, man?
I don't have video of that, but I have video of the a follow-up accident in that as a result of me having such a weak arm, I had another accident about 9 years later where I was exercising and I actually cut off the tip of my finger lifting weights. So if I can give you one piece of advice, not a tip because I don't have a tip, is to don't lift weights. So as a result of being in pain from my hand, I was prescribed all these painkillers and they weren't really working, and I went home and I smoked a joint because I was using it socially anyway. And I was mesmerized to recognize that the pain actually went away when I smoked a joint versus all these pain pills. So I quickly got my medical marijuana license to be a patient. And at the time, nobody really knew how to go about doing that. And so I turned it into a small word-of-mouth business, which is how I met my business partners. And then we ended up each throwing in our story is we started our business with $4,000 and a half a pound of cannabis, which was I threw in 2,000. My other partner threw in 2,000 Kavon, and our third partner at the time threw in the equivalent of $2,000, which at the time of $4,000 a pound was a half a pound of cannabis.
Wow,
so, that's cool. I like
incredible.
There you go. In 3 minutes, how I got started.
into an empire that Ian now has with his consulting company. I got involved with this not because of the pain thing like you guys, but I've also always been a social user, and I've always seen, from my experience, people using opiates for pain, people using Klonopin and Oxycodone and all these things, and I've actually had some personal experience with that type of stuff. So that's why I'm such a strong advocate for CBD and cannabis, because it can treat these things. It can help addicts. It can help for pain. Even if you're prescribed something by a doctor, what happens to so many people, they're prescribed, then they go, they're addicted, and then they can't afford it anymore, or their insurance stops paying for it, so they turn to other things. And that's why I'm such a strong advocate to get this legalized across all 50 states and really make this happen. So that's why I started the Vaporizer company, because I saw the opportunity in the business to be able to help people and, you know, concentrate to really the future of vaping. If you guys don't know anything about distillates and oil and things like that, we're actually going to be consuming on some of these today. This is a powerful pen vaporizer that we use distillates, pretty much like 90% THC, and then there's natural terpenes reintroduced for really good flavor. So, Ian, you want to take a whirl on this guy first?
Sure.
All right, we'll show how this is working. And today,
How an old man hits a vaporizer.
Sexy.
There you go. We got a little 2-second preheat function on
I
it.
don't think
so
anybody has ever
Well-
called my cannabis consumption sexy before.
we'll warm it up.
I told my dad all the time, I was like, you would be such a fox in just a little cannabis.
Alright. Works beautifully.
Yeah, look at that. The way it feels in that chamber is beautiful.
How's your shoulder feel?
Fixed.
Feels fine. Feels fine. That's a really, really smooth hit.
So we wanted to start doing this show so you guys can not only meet influencers in the industry and learn a little bit more about them and what they're doing out here, but also talk about hot topics that are happening in the industry. And right now, social consumption is a huge, yeah, nice. Social consumption is a huge thing. People have the misconception that you can come to Colorado and consume wherever you want, but it's really not the case. You have to be inside of a residence. So recently they just passed Prop 300, or Initiative 300, correct? And I'm going to have Ian touch a little bit more about what that's going to look like and how the landscape is going to change. Because right now, people are coming to Colorado and you can purchase marijuana, but you literally can't go anywhere to consume it legally.
Yeah.
So, how do you think the landscape is going to change? Is it going to be like bars, or are we going to see people alcohol and marijuana mixed, or is it going to be solo? What's the landscape going to look like here?
Yeah, it's a good question, Brendan. Unfortunately, we're not going to see it in bars. Step back and I'll tell you, Initiative 300 was a ballot initiative that was run out of Denver. In fact, Denver Leaf Consulting, my business partner Kayvon was a lead proponent, and one of our employees, Emmett Reistroffer, was also one of the other proponents. There were 5 in Colorado. The other one being, I believe, Christian Cedarberg, Wanda James from Simply Pure, and Jane West, along with Kayvon and Emmett. So we got this ballot initiative on the ballots last year through a signature drive that we ran, and it passed. And so as a result, what it created was it directed the city and county of Denver to create regulations for how we would deal with social use, specifically within the city and county of Denver. Unfortunately, the Colorado Liquor Authority got involved after we passed the bill and worked behind the scenes, in my opinion, with the state of Colorado and the city and county to suggest that if you have a liquor license and you serve alcohol, you cannot participate in the social use program. So what that means is no bars and restaurants will be permitted to apply for these applications.
Which is what people would want to do. It's like, where can I get the best of both worlds? Wow.
You know, certainly there are people that are interested in poly use, and to take that away and just tell people you're going to have to make a decision between cannabis and alcohol as far as an intoxicant, and if you're in a social setting, it in my opinion sets bad precedent. Certainly we know unequivocally that cannabis is safer than alcohol, and to tell people, hey, you can come to this bar but you can't use the safer substance, you must use
You should say.
I was just sitting here.
You should say, hi everybody. I'm Ian C. Izzy thinks my smoking is sexy. Boom. They're like, I know who this guy is.
Blown.
So camera shut off. We're back though, and we're talking about social consumption and where we can use cannabis. We're at my house now, which is allowed to be, we're allowed to consume and things here. We were just talking about how you're not allowed to consume anywhere and what that's going to look like.
Not anywhere. It's not that you can't consume anywhere, right? There's lots of places where you can consume, but it must be in private, right?
Okay.
You can't consume outdoors you can't consume in bars and restaurants and in social settings. So there's plenty of places to consume, but the challenge is that tourists and people who don't live in Colorado come from outside of the state, and they have no place where they can go because, for example, their hotel room doesn't allow smoking, and they can't smoke on the street, and so it becomes a challenge for them. Veterans who live, anybody who lives in government housing, people who are in Section 8 housing, people who are in affordable housing, sometimes are told as a part of their leases that they can't. So it's not only for tourists that don't have a place, but many people who live here also don't. But there are places in which some people can safely consume, like your home.
Sure. Do you know the crime that is? What is the level of that? How much trouble would I get in consuming on the street here if I was caught?
It depends on what city and county you're in. In Denver, it's the lowest level, lowest priority law enforcement, and
So
it's I believe a $1 fine.
Wow.
Plus court costs and a mandatory drug offender
$1.
surcharge.
Bring $1.
I would suggest that you don't consume in public as a responsible cannabis operator.
So then, in the future landscape, dispensaries, are they going to have licenses? Are you going to be able to have a dispensary on the floor and then like a rooftop consumption lounge?
There's not on the same premises or the same one property, but if somebody had an adjoining unit, like somebody was renting a space in a strip mall, for example, and they had the dispensary in one space, there's nothing that prohibits next door from being a social use spot. In other cities, we have, for example, the Smoking Gun on Colorado Boulevard, right? And that's in a small city called Glendale. It abuts Denver. It's right next door, and they designed their facility with a rooftop because of it. They built their facility out knowing that eventually there's going to be some type of social use permitted, and so they build a structure from the ground up, planning for that day when they can have social use.
Very cool. Do you have any stories for us, Izzy, on situations you might have been in where you didn't have anywhere to go, or like?
Yeah, I mean, the joke here is always, oh, you can buy, but where are you gonna get high? Like I have family, they're like, oh, you having to come? I'm like, cool, where are you gonna get high? Just messing with them, obviously they're gonna come to my house.
They're gonna come to your house, I hope.
But like, if you know me and you follow me on Snapchat and you see me, I consumed the other day. I was in Red Robin, right outside the door, smoking a blunt. I was like, about to go to Red Robin, not that hungry, but I'm gonna hit this blunt. And there's been moments where I do that. And I notice when I go, when you go to California, there's restaurants that just let you smoke. There's things like that. But I think it is scary because once you get a slap on the wrist, you kind of know it. And for me, I kind of treat it like alcohol in some situations. Sometimes I'm playful when I can almost guarantee I won't get caught. I'm not going to do it in the mall. There are places now that they have the loud challenge where it's like get high inside of like a grocery store or just spark up somewhere where you're not supposed to. And I think that it also kind of sets the wrong precedent for the people who are working so hard to get this stuff to pass. It does make it harder because we're the resistance even though we're the assistance, And so I try, if I'm around a lot of people, I try not to do it, but if I'm with myself or my roommate, I'm going to do it just because that's just the way I am. But I think it is risky, and especially coming here. I bake Denver or Studio 420, and it just depends. Like, some people are just trying to have, like, a nicer experience, like an older couple, like a tourist. You're not going to go to, like, an underground smoke section kind of place that's just grungy or something. Okay.
Beautiful. Three, 2, 1.
Hold on.
And we're back.
That CBD didn't hit me as friendly as
CBD need to put this in the thing.
No.
No, just the laugh is
good.
First time.
Yeah, it was good. I don't hit CBD that often.
You could do that like outtakes at the end.
Yeah,
it was a little harder.
You can take the
Like,
distillate.
I would much rather have distillate than CBD right now.
You should be able to take it out and pop it back in, and it should work. But if it doesn't,
You have to press a button.
hit the preheat, and there you go. Pop her in there.
And here we go.
And,
Boom, chicka, boom.
and then
let her rip.
take you to the moon, buddy.
Look at that. What you see here is Ian ripping the V2.
One and only.
Look at the clouds.
So, we were talking about social consumption, and one of the things, that's really hard for my company, we can go to places like New West Summit or High Times Cannabis Cup in San Bernardino in California, people selling pounds of weed, consuming everywhere, lines of people doing dabs, I don't necessarily think that's the best landscape, but having people be able to consume in a safe space, in a lounge where they can try your products, I think is very important, especially as brands go out and spend $10 to $20, $30,000 on big conventions where they can't even enjoy the product that you're trying to take out. So in California, you can get away with it. Las Vegas, however, has some of the strictest regulations out there, and the MJ Biz conference that's coming up, everyone got a letter saying if you consume on premises, you will be escorted out by police, kind of criminalizing, what we're trying to make a professional industry and get rid of that stigma over things. They're literally sending security guards in to monitor everyone's consumption. So the landscape of social use, right? As long as it's in a safe space, I think there should be regulated safe spaces at all of these events, and I think that's something very important that we move forward to. So, do you guys think that we're going to have places in convention centers or other places that we can consume, or do you think it's only going to be places with a social use license or a private residence? Do you think it'll ever get to the point where...
I think it's going to get to the point where people are just going to stop, really showing up, like you're seeing. I just think people are going to... they're just going to spend less time there. They'd want to, if it's cannabis stuff and you're buying pipes, and this is a very intricate piece to show people. They have to hit it,
Right.
because it changes their perception, because you're like, oh, do you like distillates? People are just going to think of a vape pen.
Sure.
So having the opportunity to do this is important. So I think being around cannabis myself, I want to smoke. The people around you want you to try their product. You want to see what it is. If you can't do that, you're going to spend very little time. The less time you spend at a place, the less money you're going to spend.
Yeah.
The less money.
And what we've seen over the past couple of years is a culture, a cannabis culture, that we want to make more professional, but that has also put a lot more restrictions on what happens. I went to Cannabis Cup in Denver in 2014 and 2015. I think you were there too. Much different than it was then, right?
Mm-hmm.
Back then, there was open use, social consumption people didn't even think about it. They just it was a festival where people could do that. And now, with the legal cannabis industry coming in and legalizing everything, it's more regulated, which is good. But at the same time, if what we're also passionate about is the plant, and we're criminalized by using it at a friendly place together, then is that really forward progress? And what are we doing about it?
And it's about the experience too.
Sure.
You're not experiencing all that cannabis offers if you're just...
You know what I mean? With all those conventions back in the day, it was the counterculture.
Oh yeah.
It was everywhere.
The atmosphere, everything.
Yeah, now the counterculture doesn't even come to these events.
Yeah, that's because it's become mainstream culture. I mean, cannabis and Colorado are forever intertwined, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you go travel and you tell somebody you're from Colorado,
People follow our lead 100%.
right? What's the first thing that people say to you, right?
Right.
Oh, you get weed?
Yeah.
You get weed?
I bet there's weed everywhere.
I know somebody who's in the pot industry, right?
Yeah.
Everybody, it has changed the landscape for Colorado, and I would argue for the better.
Sure. No, I love everything that's happened, but I feel like we've lost some of that counterculture experience, and that's what I would like to focus on in the future, is trying to find a happy medium, where it can be consumed and shown
Sure.
in certain places.
I think it'll come with time. If you, for those who don't necessarily pay attention to history, cannabis prohibition has followed a very similar path to what happened with alcohol, and that is that it was legal for recreational use, and then it became illegal, and then it was legalized for medicinal use, and you used to have to go get a prescription from the doctor to go get your medicinal pint of whiskey. I don't know if you've seen it at my house. I have a medicinal pint of whiskey at my house. I'll show you when you come over to my place. It says bottled in bond. It's from a pharmacy, and you used to get your weekly allotment or whatever it was of whiskey, and then they made it legal for adult use again after the end of Prohibition, because Prohibition didn't work. And I would argue that it doesn't work, and cannabis has followed a very similar thing in that it was legal, right? It was legal in the United States until 1937 when it was criminalized, or at least under Anslinger with the Tax Act that was afforded to it, and then it became legal for medicinal use, and now we're seeing it's legal for adult use, and now we're seeing it's legal not only for adult use but social use, and so slowly and over a period of time, a lot longer than we want, but it's happening in our lifetime.
Yeah.
We're peeling the layers away of prohibition, and I can confidently say that we'll see the end of prohibition in our lifetime in the United States and possibly around the world. But certainly social use is coming, and so to allow this medicinal use, the regulations that we've set forth in this experiment here in Colorado, and then creating adult use. And now this next layer is social use, so people are going to be scared of it in the very beginning, and we have to prove again that the sky is not falling, as I was referring to before.
Yes.
Continue to be able to show that teen use doesn't go up as a result of regulating things the right way,
Right.
and that we can peacefully coexist with cannabis in our fine city and in our fine state.
So yeah, if you come to Colorado, just make sure that you know it's not legal to just smoke anywhere that you want. Find a safe place. And we'll see how 300 turns out and who's going to get licenses. When do you expect the first place to be open to be able to consume?
You know, it's funny that you asked that. Due to the overwhelming and overbearing regulations that were created in association with the city and county and accepted, we've had an application window open for well over a month now, and not a single business has applied for a license to my knowledge. And that's because it's very restrictive as far as setbacks that were created that don't exist for other businesses as far as operating. Distances from churches, daycare centers, parks, things like that. Distances from each other, and there's very few places in the city and county of Denver where one can indeed set up one of these social use businesses. So as of today, we have yet to hear that a single business has applied. So if you're interested in examining what's out there here in Denver, plenty of options.
It's a good opportunity.
It's a great opportunity.
I just feel like it would be like the next rush of the movement here.
Right.
But yeah, it's been very difficult to move forward. So we'll see if we got cannabis clubs for you guys soon.
You
thank
should be the first one.
Thank you. Yeah, could I buy one as an ancillary product? I can do that, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So thank you, Ian. Thank you, Izzy. Again, I'm Brendan from Vaporizer. We're going to bring these videos to you guys every single week. We're going to have another influencer or somebody from the industry talking about their profession and what they do and why they love everybody that smokes weed and doesn't smoke.